My name is Brit Krelmeyer. I'm originally from Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm a We the People alum, and I'm currently a practicing attorney in Boise, Idaho.
Good morning to you all. I'm Les Volpe. I'm an attorney in Denver, Colorado.
And good afternoon Eastern Time. I'm Gus Chin. I'm a municipal judge for the cities of Holiday and Cottonwood Heights in the state of Utah.
We are so glad to be with you today. We are here for Unit 5, and we are going to start with question number 2. Richard Posner.
They need to introduce themselves. Sorry, Brett.
Oh, I am so sorry. Please take a moment to introduce yourselves. I'm just so excited to hear what you have to say, but yes, please introduce yourselves.
Good morning. We are Reno High School's Unit 5. My name is Maggie Arden, and I will be attending Miami University.
My name is Lauren Kinder, and I will be attending Pepperdine University.
My name is Anna Cisneros, and I will be attending Cal Poly San Luis Obispo.
And my name is Rami Atani, and I'll be attending the University of Nevada. Our unit coach is Mr. Scott Daniel, and our teacher is Mr. Richard Clark.
Wonderful. Sorry for that oversight again. We're going to dive right into question number 2. Richard Posner wrote that the American public worries more about the invasions of privacy than about summary proceedings against suspected terrorists, curtailments of the freedom of speech of the law-abiding, or the right of the media to publish government secrets. Do you agree or disagree with this statement? Why or why not? To what extent, if any, is the privacy in jeopardy today? What protection, if any, do people have from privacy violations by government or businesses? You may begin.
Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. Benjamin Franklin's 1755 polemic rings true today as Americans seek to establish a balance between civil liberties and public safety amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. We disagree with Richard Posner's assertion. While Americans have paid lip service to privacy since the War on Terror, the growth of social media and location tracking technology have culturally desensitized Americans to many invasions of privacy.
We, the class of 2020, are the first graduating class born after September 11, 2001. We have only known the War on Terror and curtailments of liberty in the name of national security. Most prominently, the USA Patriot Act expanded the authority of the federal government to monitor phone and email communications, collect bank and credit reporting records, and track the activity of Americans on the internet for the purpose of combating domestic terrorism.
Today, individuals routinely surrender their personal information to third parties through social media where the Fourth Amendment does not apply. In 2016, Cambridge Analytica utilized private information from Facebook pages to target Trump campaign advertisements to voters. Often, users sign away their right to privacy when signing the terms and agreements of these websites.
Federal and state governments have also taken steps that impede an individual's right to privacy. CCTV on highways record and track every license plate that passes through. The government can also access digital information through the Cloud Act in the wake of Microsoft versus United States. Today's generations are familiar with a government that tracks data or subpoenas third parties for information, rendering our apathy a grave threat to privacy today.
Americans have, to an extent, become complacent to invasions of privacy over a fear of what could happen if there were no intrusion. There's a delicate balance between justified caution and giving into fear. The more comfortable we get with a culture of government intrusion, the more policies are made. To offer protection to citizens' personal information, Congress passed the Privacy Act of 1974, which prevents unauthorized disclosure of personal information held by the federal government. This act increased transparency and gave people more control over their information, yet this is no longer sufficient.
In April 2019, Utah passed the Electronic Information or Data Privacy Act, which established the idea that digital data deserves the same protections as the physical evidence specifically enumerated in the Fourth Amendment. Legislation, both on the state and federal level, has limited what the governments can do with citizens' information.
The government has also taken punitive action against corporations. For example, in April of last year, the Federal Trade Commission imposed $5 billion in fines along with new restrictions on Facebook. This came as punishment for misusing information and violating its consumers' privacy, and is the largest data security penalty ever imposed.
Privacy concerns are particularly relevant to the current pandemic and government measures to limit people's movement. For example, Taiwan's electric fence alerts authorities when a person travels too far beyond their home. Within the United States, temperatures taken by Kinsa Health smart thermometers are aggregated to generate maps of which states have been hit the hardest by the outbreak. Similarly, the federal government has begun discussion with Google, Facebook, and similar platforms who have access to their users' location to predict where the virus will spread. The government can subpoena such third-party information on reasonable suspicion under the Stored Communications Act. Now, we must be vigilant to ensure necessary disease prevention does not devolve into unnecessary intrusions upon our persons, houses, papers, and effects. Thank you.
Wonderful. We're going to ask some follow-up questions. So you mentioned that there's been some financial hits in fines for these companies that are violating privacy acts, but then in the same token, you're saying that we're now utilizing these companies to track during COVID. Do you think that now that we have this pandemic that we are going to loosen up protections on these companies or regulations on these companies because of the pandemic?
I definitely think that people would be more inclined to give up their information in order to prevent this pandemic. One thing that's extremely important is that the system that is being developed by Apple and Google together would be an opt-in system instead of an opt-out system. And so we believe that any third-party providers that are making these types of disease prevention programs must make them opt-in so that people are not accidentally being a part of the program or giving up their information unknowingly.
Furthermore, on April 19th, scientists and researchers from around the globe issued a joint statement where they feared that these contract tracing apps lack sufficient accuracy and also carry privacy risks because the GPS data is sent to a centralized location. So as my colleague Lauren stated, these systems would be opt-in, but citizens need to be aware of the lack of accuracy that these apps have.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Les. He's got some questions for you as well.
Yes, I do. In terms of citizens protecting themselves, you're aware of the fact that the FISA court issues secret warrants. Even though the Fourth Amendment requires warrants for certain privacy invasions, if we have secret proceedings in front of the FISA court, and in fact, the FISA court has granted over 30,000 warrants and denied just 12, are we in fact still protected by the Fourth Amendment?
The case Clapper versus Amnesty International deals with this issue. Upon the creation of FISA, Amnesty International sued because they thought that this foreign surveillance would have a sort of chilling effect on any company that had overseas communication. So we do see companies who are located in multiple countries pushing back on this type of surveillance without these strict warrant requirements.
Some may argue that these FISA courts resemble in some ways the star chambers from centuries ago, and because of the fact that they are secret and it isn't open to the public, this can be a risk to the privacy of individuals.
However, even though there is a risk to the privacy of individuals, individuals are still protected by the privacy penumbras outlined throughout the Constitution and individual state constitutions, such as, for example, the Nevada State Constitution outlines privacy in Article 1, Section 18, where it specified the search and seizure clause.
Thank you. I'm going to turn the time over to Gus.
Thank you. Given what you have said, you're the post 9/11 generation. If we are concerned about our security, shouldn't we be willing to surrender some element of privacy for national security and the common good?
So the first case of this is that we see is the pre-9/11 data mining project called Abel Danger Project, which successfully identified hijacker Mohammed Atta as a threat to the United States before 9/11. And yes, we could see that giving up some protections of privacy could lead to a safer domain. However, this doesn't mean that we must give up all protections of privacy, because our individuals is still what makes our country strong.
Giving into fear also allows for further intrusion. The Patriot Act is still ongoing today, and there has been no time limit placed on it. So this act has been used to invade privacy since 9/11. And if something similar were to happen with the pandemic, we can't allow fear of a future pandemic to allow invasions now. So anything put in place for the COVID-19 outbreak would have to have a time limit on it as well.
Currently, China is favoring the common good over individual privacy with their app called Trace Together, which requires citizens to download a software that tracks the likelihood of someone having the virus, which can be seen extremely detrimental to personal privacy. I agree with what Germany and Italy are doing. They are sharing location data with officials in an anonymous format. So putting the common good, yet still protecting the privacy of citizens.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Lauren. Has there been any significant terrorist attacks thwarted because of the Patriot Act or data mining or collection of sensitive information?
I do believe that the Patriot Act was necessary, and many would argue that it is still necessary because it doesn't really have a defined enemy. However, there are many provisions of the Patriot Act that actually increase the punishment for, say, harboring a terrorist, for bioterrorism, or terrorism on public transport. So I think that these are provisions that are still necessary, even this far away from 9/11, because they're just general protections.
Along with this, a specific example is the Apple Danger Project, where they successfully identified the hijacker before it truly happened. While they weren't able to prevent it from happening, they were able to show their power in identifying and showing that it could happen.
If we are to maintain our control of government by the people, must we know what the government is doing in order to exercise that control?
Transparency is incredibly important when it comes to privacy and the regulations that the government is putting into place. California put in the California, may I continue?
Finish that sentence.
California put into place the California Consumer Privacy Act, which went into effect at the beginning of this year, which allows users to know where their information is going and what third parties it is being sent to. So more acts like this would allow increased privacy, and it would allow it to be put into the hands of people.
Wonderful. Let's give you guys a round of applause. First of all, it gave me chills hearing you guys talk, not only that you are this generation that is born post 9/11, but that this is how you had to go to nationals, right? Like it's bad enough that you were born into such an uncertain time that now here as seniors, it's now coming full circle. But what a resilient group of students you are, and what brilliant young minds you are, and weaving together what you've experienced throughout your entire life, where myself and my fellow judges, we've seen this transpire over the last 20 years. You were born into this. And it is quite inspiring to know that you guys have the mind's power, the willpower to change that. I appreciated how thoughtful you were in your presentation. You could tell how all of us were quick to want to ask questions. When you have a hot panel of judges, it means we're eager to hear what you want to say, and that's always a good thing. So kudos to you guys. Thank you for opting in to participate in this format. I was trying to explain to my husband, he's like, I kept hearing you thank everyone. They're like, well, I was like, yeah, because the whole point of going to nationals is going to DC. Like, why do the extra work just so you can zoom in? I was like, that takes a lot of motivation, because I would be binge watching like Tiger King. That's what I'd be doing as a senior right now, right? Like that's exactly what most of us would be doing, or watching Saturday Night Live. But you guys are brilliant, and kudos to your coaches and the people that are here to support you. So I will defer to my other judges.
I too wish to thank you for your hard work. You obviously have put in an incredible amount of time. You have an incredible amount of detail in your presentation, which tells me how hard you've worked, even though we have a completely different format for this competition this year. I thank you for your hard effort. Good heavens, your knowledge of history, the reference to the Star Chamber, I thought was excellent, which is one of the main reasons we have the Fourth Amendment, the abuses of the colonial government on the part of the British. But knowing all of the various statutes, and there are a wealth of statutes that now apply. The Privacy Act that you referred to state statutes, the California Consumer Privacy Act, and those kinds of things. I thought your discussion of the common good was excellent, and the reference to China and how the pandemic has given them more control of their citizens. And I think ultimately we're going to have more of these transnational issues which impact what happens to not only our government, but the international community and its impact on our private lives. You're quite correct in saying that we must guard our own privacy if we are to have the kind of lives that our founders anticipated. And one of the ways we do that is to educate people your age, post 9/11, ask them to become knowledgeable, ask them to become politically active, and to go and teach their fellow citizens what you have had the benefit of learning in the course of this procedure. Thank you for your hard work, and thank you to your teacher for the effort that your teacher has put in.
Thank you. I join my fellow judges in commending you. Kudos for your preparation, for your resiliency, your adaptability. You are the technological generation in any event, so I'm not surprised at your ability. I do appreciate the approach you took. If I could offer a suggestion, in terms of what protections vis-a-vis against government and businesses, it might be lovely if you had tossed in a couple more case authority to show the role of the courts in helping when the individual brings the litigation to address these. But very well done, good approach, and good response to our questions. Good luck to you with your academic endeavors and in your future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, judges, very much.